Cathedral by Clarence Carter, narrated by Todd. All marriages have secrets. Neither of mine are an exception. Thick snow falls in troves outside my window. Gingerbread cookie smells waft through the air on waves of Christmas music. Stockings are hung by the chimney. Colleen moves around the kitchen with the grace of a woman 20 years younger. "Isn't it lovely?" she gawks at the tree, which flickers in the living room. When she speaks of Christmas, her eyes sparkle. Grandbabies and mountains of presents are on her mind. With my head buried behind a newspaper, I agree. Yes, dear. Between Dear Abby and the comics, I sip my spiked eggnog. Alcohol makes the holidays tolerable. Some girl sings about her 2 front teeth while I try not to throw myself off the roof. Steam wafts off the cookie she sets before me. She's a sweet woman, a wonderful woman, but she's not Miriam. As the night wears on, pain rises in my arthritic hip. It starts small but grows until it consumes half my leg. There's a bottle of Tylenol in the drawer, but I don't take any. Call me masochistic, but I don't deserve the reprieve. I take another sip of my eggnog, hoping to find my holiday spirit at the bottom. Christmas music plays all through the baking for church and through dinner. By the time she's ready to give it a rest, I've had enough. I bite back at my inner Grinch, who wants to scream at the top of his lungs. I try to bury my Scrooge deep down because I know how much it makes her happy. We kiss goodnight before heading separate ways. She goes up to the bedroom. I go down to the basement. In the cellar is the workshop I've kept for 40 years. It isn't pretty, but it serves the purpose for one old fool's tinkering. 40 years of working with tech has left me with spare parts for everything I own, some of them numerous times over. Cautious of my footing, I ease down every step. I'm aware of the drinks I had and afraid a fall might kill me. My knotted hands grip the rail tighter than they had even 10 years earlier. The boards creak below my weight as I take them one step at a time. There are no Christmas lights in my shop, no stockings or trees. There isn't any holiday music either, thankfully. 3 more days and I won't have to listen to Bing or Frank or the damn hippopotamus song again for another year, providing I live that long. In the corner is a stack of computer parts I've accumulated. Sometimes I rummage through it to see what can be salvaged, although those days are slowing down. I don't build computers much anymore because the demand is going away. Laptops and tablets have replaced PCs, which is a shame. My workbench stares back at me, along with my most prized possession, the Cathedral radio. Dropping myself into the chair, I groan with relief. My aching joints thank me. I take a moment to admire it. It's aesthetically pleasing, not to mention nothing short of miraculous. With a click, the radio comes to life with static. As the dial turns, jumbled bits of conversations and songs melt together in a cacophony of sound. Then I find the AM station with which I'm obsessed. It doesn't have a station identification or a DJ, nothing like that. They don't play the best oldies. No, this station does something no other station in the world does. Broadcasts the dead. Miriam's voice surfaces through the fuzz. "Hello, my love. Did you miss me?" I shuffle through the drawer of my workbench, finding the bottle of Stoli I keep for special occasions. I pour myself 3 fingers into a glass and answer her. More than you'll ever know. Having a relationship with my deceased wife while being married to Colleen feels wrong. I didn't plan it that way. We'd already been married 2 years when I fixed the Cathedral radio and heard her voice for the first time since, well, you know. There's something missing from her voice. Ever since she came back, it's like she didn't come back whole. I try not to think about it, but there's less life, pardon the pun, in her expression. She isn't my Miriam. I know that. That doesn't make me love her less. The first drink of Stoli burns going down. Christmas is in a few days. With that slow drawl, she says, "That's nice." The glass thumps against the desk. Today, Colleen made gingerbread cookies. They're not bad. Although I don't say it, Miriam understands that the cookies aren't as good as hers, even if the recipe did come from the same book. There are a lot of things that aren't the same. Miriam hummed when she worked in the kitchen. Colleen doesn't. She periodically sings, not that badly either. Then I found the humming to be annoying, especially when I was working on a crossword puzzle. But now I'd give anything to hear it again. "That's nice," she says in the patient, almost bored way she now talks. I find myself fiddling with a grill lighter I've recently fixed. I've asked her all the questions I could think of about the afterlife, but she never opens up much. What she has told me is that it's like being in an empty train station. She suspects there are other people, swears she hears their whispers, but they never come out of the shadows. Also, she says it feels a lot like there's a train coming, but it never does. Sometimes I wonder if she's told me this to put my mind at ease. I wonder if it's much worse, but she lies to me because she wants my passing to be easy. It's no big secret that my time is coming. I'm an old man now, and my health is declining. The small flame ignites with the click of a button. I heard their voices again today. I'm not losing my mind. I know I heard them. Even this, she says in an unenthusiastic way, as if she's just taken a sedative. There are other people here, Henry. I know it. Another sample of vodka singes my taste buds. I'll believe you. She whispers, I don't think they're good people either, as if they may overhear us. The tremble in my hand stops. Is there something I can do? No. Our conversations keep me up sometimes. I spend the whole night thinking about the afterlife, wondering what it's like to wait for a train that never arrives. Another swallow makes me feel an ounce of comfort. The other people concern me too. She's expressed this sentiment before, told me that their presence feels ominous. Although there is a lot of silence in our conversations now, I struggle to turn off the radio every night. I still yearn to sit with her, as we did for so many years. There's a comfortable silence when you've been with someone for a long time, a peace. I ask her the question I've dared only ask once before. Do you think we'll be together when it's over? She pauses, then whispers, I don't know, Henry. I hope so. I have an image of her in my head, sitting behind the glass of a train station desk, talking into the microphone that goes over the intercom. I suspect that isn't accurate, but I don't want to ruin it because I like that visual too much. It brings me comfort. With my hand lingering over the dial, I say, I love you, but I need to sleep. And I love you more than anything in the whole world. Get some rest. We'll talk soon. Her words have less meaning now. They don't have the same impact they did when she was alive and could say them with gusto. The radio falls dead with the click of the knob. On unsteady legs, I climb each step. Pain resonates from both knees. As I ascend, I listen carefully for Colleen, who is a light sleeper. When I reach the first floor, I know the coast is clear. A light snore resonates from upstairs. As I go up the next flight, I think about those lifts they're constantly advertising on TV and ask myself for the 1000th time why I haven't purchased one. Colleen has mentioned them before. Deep down, I know it's because of my pride. My pride won't allow me to have one. Even if I had one, I wouldn't use it. By the time I reach the second floor, all the strength in my legs are gone. My hands tremble as I remove my trousers and struggle getting into bed. Once under the quilt, I find myself thinking about Miriam. We spent so many years together that she could read me like a book. She always knew what was on my mind, even before I said anything. Colleen doesn't understand me. I love her, and she tries, but she doesn't get me, not like Miriam did. The ceiling tiles stare back, expressionless. The alarm clock mocks me as the hours creep by. Sleep is elusive, has been for a long time, which is why I tinker long into the night. As nighttime progresses into morning, I've worked my way through a million memories, all of them bittersweet. Even before Colleen, I'm up. A hot shower puts a pep in my step, although I'm sure it won't last long. I also know there's a pot of coffee in my future, which will help. I put on a Christmas sweater because I know it will make her happy. Rummaging through the cabinets, I think of those meetings I attended shortly after Miriam passed. Grieving widows and widowers hunkered down in the church basement where they hosted the AA meetings on Tuesday nights. That's how I met Colleen. She was recently widowed too. The coffee pot gurgles to life. That beautiful Colombian roast fills the air as I sit at the kitchen table, thinking about those days. The days I thought would never end. It seems to me that shortly after she passed, time stood still. Every day was exactly the same, slow and painful. A noise derails my train of thought. I listen carefully, wondering if Colleen is up. From the basement comes the unmistakable sound of static, which makes my heart stop. My jaw slacks open in disbelief. I stand at the entry to the basement, listening as the radio cycles through station after station. It's moving fast, too fast to be done by a human hand. At the end of the band, it stops long enough to turn back in the other direction. Curious and afraid, I work my way down the steps. I curse my body for having gotten old. Each step has the potential to be dangerous. At the bottom, I see my radio. The dial turns back and forth, as if spanning for something. A voice jumps from the speakers. "Unsafe," it says. It happens quick enough that I question if that's exactly what I heard. Then it happens again. "It's unsafe." This time the voice is clear. This time I'm certain it's Miriam. Wishing I'd brought my cane, I march to the workbench where I bend over and grab the power cord. One quick jerk pulls it free from the outlet and the static dies, leaving the basement in an eerie silence. For a little while, I stare at the radio as if it might come to life. The technician in me laughs, but the skeptic doesn't. The technician in me has already been wrong once. He didn't believe a radio, especially an outdated one like the Cathedral, could reach the afterlife. I settle into my chair for a breath, staring at the machine as if it might bite me. When the nerves refuse to calm themselves, I pull open the drawer and remove the bottle. 3 fingers. A drink before breakfast is something I haven't done since my 30s, but it seems like the only thing to do. That liquid fire runs down my throat and burns in my belly. In seconds, an ease comes over me, much better than anything the doctors prescribe. My father used to call it a liquid vacation. Not for the first time, I ask myself what the fuck just happened. With vodka singing songs in my head, the answer seems much clearer. There must be someone on the other side. Someone, or something. That thought sends a chill down my spine. Finishing my drink, I hoist myself out of the chair. I'm worried about Miriam, and I can't stop thinking about her as I take the stairs one at a time. There's an unsettling feeling poking at me. She may be in danger, but there's nothing I can do. Back in the kitchen, I fetch coffee in lieu of vodka. My hands tremble as I pour. An empty glass sits by the machine, waiting for Colleen. Sipping my roast, I gaze out the window at the backyard. There are no birds there. A light dusting of snow covers the bath and the feeders. My thoughts return to the radio and those ominous words that came through. She's trying to warn me. Part of me wants to storm back downstairs and turn it on, to face the troubles head on. I've never been a brave man, although I wish I were. I'm the last to volunteer to do anything dangerous. Wouldn't go 2 feet into the woods for fear of poison ivy. My thoughts touch on the subject many times. Coming down the stairs, Colleen groans about something. I can't hear her. Like all things, my hearing is dwindling. When she reaches the landing, she speaks again. "When did you get up?" Sometimes lying is easier. I'm not proud of it. "Not long ago." As she's thumping about the kitchen, my mind returns to the radio that turned itself on. Clearly, I'm dealing with something supernatural, but I have no experience with that stuff. In fact, I wouldn't have considered myself a believer before hearing her voice through that speaker. Leaning against the counter and sipping on her coffee, Colleen says, "I had a terrible dream last night." "Oh?" I ask, not sure I want to hear about it. "There was a voice. I can't describe it. Deep, dark. It kept telling me to kill myself, sort of trying to coax me into doing it, really." Her face is waxen and afraid. "I saw myself standing in front of the mirror, holding the razor blade to my wrist. It all seemed so real." "Weird," I say, because there's nothing else to say. Outside, snow falls in a clumsy masquerade. The wind blows against the side of the house, reminding me of the weather's decline and the pending holidays that have escaped my mind. "That's a horrible dream," I say, although I'm struggling to keep myself together. I'm exhausted. I know a nap won't help, but it's going to happen the second I sit still long enough. I wonder what might provoke something like that. She seems flabbergasted. After she cooks breakfast, I find myself on the couch where a nap ensues. It isn't restful. I wake up several times. Sometimes my feet twitch and cast me out of sleep like a fall. By lunchtime, I have no appetite. I want nothing more than to go into my workshop and turn on the radio in search of answers, although I hate to admit how afraid I am. "Thanks for the offer, but I think I'm going to pass on sandwiches today, Colleen. I have a lot to do down there." My arthritic finger points to the hallway that leads to the basement. She smiles, patient as ever. "You go down those stairs carefully. I don't know what I'd do if something were to happen to you." As a younger man, I thought little of stairs, walked plenty of them without much thought. Now, I fear them like a man might fear an angry dog. They don't look ominous or even dangerous. They look like wooden stairs. It seems absurd to be afraid of them. I approach the bench like a lion tamer. The radio sits there, quiet and unintrusive. Although it doesn't say or do anything, somehow it's taunting me. It has a presence, unlike it did before. It somehow feels alive. Even though the doctor has warned me about mixing alcohol with my medication, it doesn't matter. I pour myself a stiff drink as I stare at the face of the radio, afraid. The liquid courage doesn't help. Once my hands are steady, I reach under the bench and plug it in. It comes to life with that familiar crackle. The knobs don't twist and turn on their own as I anticipate. The volume is high, so I lower it. I pass through plenty of dead air. "Hello?" I call into the void, hoping but not expecting my wife. "Is anybody there?" Static hisses. The voice inside my head tells me that it's just a radio, that nothing happened. It tried convincing me that I'd had a bit too much to drink and fallen asleep at the workbench. Finally, a voice creeps across the airwaves. Henry? Henry? An ounce of relief sweeps over me. Yes, Miriam, I'm here. Waiting on the edge of my seat, I stare at my empty glass. When she hasn't spoken in a long time, I pour myself another. I know this is going to be hard. I'm here, my love. Please, tell me what happened. The static fizzles. There's someone else here. Her voice sounds distant, as if she's calling from another room. Miriam, I can barely hear you. She says something, but it's broken apart by maniacal laughter. Deep, demonic sounds like it's been summoned from hell. As it happens, I watch the volume dial turn. As it grows louder, I wince, hoping that Colleen doesn't hear it. Torn between wanting it to end and hoping Miriam comes back, my hand hovers over the power cord. The laughter is loud and intrusive, like it's penetrating my skull. Colleen calls from upstairs. What's going on down there? I pull the plug and the voice falls away. That was creepy. You aren't down there watching one of those scary movies, are you? My eyes wander to the TV in the corner. In truth, I haven't turned it on in months. Sometimes I watch the news, but lately it's not worth watching. The only time the news tell the truth is by accident. Stumbling for an explanation, I stutter. I was looking for something and it got stuck on that channel. I dropped the remote. My heart is a wild animal trapped in a cage. One thing is certain, Miriam is not alone. I stare at the radio, yearning to turn it back on and scream into it. I want whatever it is to leave my wife alone, to crawl back to hell where it came from. It isn't until I push my chair back to stand that I notice I've spilled my drink. My sleeve is damp. A slick of sweat creases my forehead. The younger man inside of me is angry. He wants vengeance, but I can't imagine how that would be possible. We're on different planets, lifetimes apart. I'm an old man and he's, what, a ghost? A demon? A celestial being? I slam my fists against the table, irritated by my own cowardice. The bottle and glass both jump. Another drink allows me to turn on the radio and keep my fingers on the volume dial. I expect resistance, plan to feel it turning between the tips of my fingers. I grit my teeth, expecting the worst. Miriam, are you all right? Static. Miriam, talk to me. Are you okay? I ask, mindful of my own voice. If Colleen were to hear me talking to my dead wife, she'd be on the phone with Dr. Roberts instantly. A tight voice comes over the radio. Not hers, nor the demon. It's not safe here, a male voice, younger than the other, says. It sounds like maybe a teenager. You shouldn't be here, mister. Is she there? I ask. Fading, the voice says, it's not safe here anymore. Static. Frustrated, I grip the bridge of my nose. We went from one voice to three. 3. I slam back another mouthful of vodka, hoping for an explanation. My questions are met with empty airwaves. A groan escapes from deep in my throat. The urge to destroy the radio is alive and well. I can't bring myself to do it because it's the only communication I have with Miriam, which means more to me than anything. I miss her more than anybody understands. After listening to plenty of fuzz, I turn the dial until it pops. I stare at its face, curious what might be going on. I know deep down there's another sleepless night ahead. Worse than that, I know I'm hopeless to save her. Hoisting myself from the chair, I head for the stairs. Tears linger in my eyes as I traipse up them, one at a time. Halfway up, my ears begin to ring. It's fierce. I wince from the pain and my eyes water. This has never happened before. Another symptom of aging, I assume. My foot lands on the top step, and I'm met with a wave of disorientation. It's worse than any senior moment I've ever had. Colleen steps into view. Oh dear, you look like you've seen a ghost. Poor choice of words in my opinion, but she isn't wrong. I suddenly don't feel well, I say. I know if she takes a few steps closer, she'll smell the vodka on my breath and blame that. It's best I lie down. She nods. Do you think you're coming down with something? It is that time of year. I shrug and carry myself to the couch. That fierce ringing continues, making me nauseous. Sleep is elusive. While staring at the ceiling, I'm formulating a plan. The only thing my mind keeps returning to is destroying the radio, but that seems wrong. As selfish as it sounds, I don't want to lose her again. Colleen brings me a cup of tea and asks me how I feel. I can tell by the undisturbed look on her face that she hadn't heard anything. As I sit up, it intensifies. It's a stake being driven into my skull. My hands clasp my ears. Henry! Her muffled voice bellows. I'm calling the doctor. Her hand touches my forehead. It's toying with me. The voice on the radio is playing a game at my expense. I want to reach out to Colleen, to hold her, but I can't pull my hands away. As the ring bears into my psyche, my vision goes blurry, followed by the worst migraine of my life. In an instant, she rises and heads for the phone. I want to stop her, to tell her that it's a waste of time. If I were to see the doctor, he'd say there's nothing wrong. I know that. There's been some hearing loss, as happens to most people my age, but otherwise, I'm fine. When I pull my hands away, the ringing becomes a shriek, a piercing noise that goes beyond pain and enters the realm of torture. To my left, I see the glass pane rattling in its frame, yet Colleen doesn't notice. Hoisting myself from the couch, I stumble through the living room. Arthritic hands guide me to the basement stairs, where I stare down into the darkness with an uneasy feeling. The shriek presses on, gaining in volume. I fear my ears may bleed. Unable to block the sound and hold the rail, I totter downstairs. Colleen calls after me, but her voice is lost to the noise that boils my brain and threatens to explode my head. A quarter of the way downstairs, I stumbled. My legs give out from under me, and I plummet. The only reason the shrieking stops is because I lose consciousness. When I wake up, I'm lying in the back of an ambulance with a paramedic staring down at me. He's blasting a flashlight into my eyes. You took a nasty fall, my friend. Memories of the trip down the stairs come over me in waves. I remember heading for the basement, but I can't recall why. I look for Colleen, but she isn't in the ambulance with us. He adjusts a face mask and says, She's not here. She'll meet us at the hospital. The wailing siren above is a clue, a piece to the puzzle I'm trying to make in my head. The cogs of my brain are turning, working harder than they have in a long time. I don't realize I'm sitting up until the paramedic pushes me back down. You don't want to get up right now. Not until we know the severity of your injuries. The drugs are coursing through my veins, and I feel no pain. There's an absence of memory. I hit my head on the way down. I know sound plays a role in it. I know it with the same certainty that I know the sun will rise in the morning. Miriam's voice is in my head. New. Fresh. It can't be because she's dead. That's when I remember her and the radio. Following that memory, I recall the other voice. Again, I try to sit up. The burly paramedic pushes me back down with knitted brows. That expression on his face tells me everything I need to know. If I get up again, he's going to sedate me. I try negotiating with him, even try bribing him to bring me home. He's not having it. For the remainder of the ride, he keeps a keen eye on me as if I'm a flight risk. A guy in a white coat holds up an x-ray, showing me a shattered bone in my leg. I can't think about that because all I can think about is that voice and Miriam. The doc, who doesn't look much beyond acne and prom trouble, advises me against walking for at least 6 months. There's a cast on my leg and talk about wheelchairs and crutches. My troubled mind reels at the thought, but I can't protest. Colleen sits by my side, hands knotted tightly together, listening intently. Even though one of her worst fears has come true, she's learning the best way to care for me, which is more than I deserve. I feel wrong for having done what I've done and wonder if she'd have made the same choice, if she would have had a relationship with her deceased husband in secret, given the chance. Reams of guilt come over me, which adds to my misery. The doctor's voice breaks my trance. Now, I advise you to stay away from steps. You should be investing in a stair lift. I've left you with some brochures. At first, I thought they were brochures for a nursing facility, but I caught a glimpse of the cover and saw one of those mechanical contraptions. I resist a groan. I can't look at Colleen because I know I will see the pleasantness in her face, that calm, understanding look. Even though she's mentioned the lift 1,000 times, she won't hold it over me. She's better than that. The doctor leaves the room with promises of discharge papers. I grab Colleen's hand. She looks at me, startled. I'm not prepared to break her heart. I need to tell you something. Something important. At this, she scoffs. What could be so important that it trumps this? She waves a hand around. Machinery whirs around us. Voices come in off the hallway. The faint antiseptic scent lingers in my nostrils. Do you know about the Cathedral radio? She nods. Only what you've told me. Why? Miriam. I wince at the pain bleeding through the medications fog. She reached out to me through the radio. She laughs, sees that I'm serious, and then adjusts her face. What are you talking about, Henry? I try my best to explain, but she doesn't believe me. I can tell by that distant look in her eyes that she thinks I've lost it. I even try to explain that her dream played a role in the ongoing turmoil. If she believes me, she says nothing. After this conversation, I expect her to ask the doctor for a CAT scan, too. She doesn't, and I'm eternally grateful. Not that I could blame her for not believing me, because I barely believe it myself. We have a wheelchair, which I dread with everything I have. I don't want that kind of setback. I knew I'd lose my mobility eventually. A lot of elderly people do. I just didn't think it would be like this. In the car, Colleen turns up the radio, blaring Christmas music. As Jingle Bells plays, I wish to be unconscious again. She's giving me the cold shoulder. Her posture is tight, and her teeth are set. Passing houses blink with strings of light. Snowmen stare as we pass. Our house is under-decorated this year. We just couldn't get everything up in time. I believe this is a point of disappointment for Colleen. Christmas is everything to her. Getting from the car into the house is tricky. We don't have a wheelchair ramp, so I have to stand, but it isn't that bad. Perhaps it's the drugs they've given me, but I feel little pain. Once inside, I listen closely, expecting the worst. The house is filled with a familiar, yet eerie silence. There isn't any ringing or shrieking coming from the basement, which puts my mind at ease temporarily. She positions me in the kitchen and bangs around as she microwaves dinner. Staring across the table at her, she avoids eye contact. I don't know if it's because she thinks I'm crazy or because she feels betrayed. We eat leftovers in silence. When she's finished, she places the dishes in the sink and simply says, "I'm going to bed." She doesn't kiss me goodnight or fetch me blankets from the closet, only walks up the stairs. To see her hurt is painful for me. I feel terrible, and for a little while, I believe I'll cry. The couch. The same place I'd slept through many fights with Miriam. It's uncomfortable and too small for me, but I lie down and pull the blanket to my chin. I consider climbing the stairs to comfort her. I try to imagine what that would look like and what that would feel like. My heart breaks more as I see things from her perspective. In the stillness of the dark comes a voice. It startles me awake. It's a man speaking, but not the same demonic voice from before. This is a man with a southern accent, who speaks with a practiced cadence. That quick southern drawl pummels my ears. What does the good book say? Right there in Ephesians, it says we do not wrestle with flesh and blood. It says we wrestle against the rulers, the authority present in the darkness. A chorus of people respond, Amen. He continues, we wrestle against spiritual forces of evil. It's one of those evangelist preachers that spit hell fire on the AM station. I've come across them before. I lift myself up to steal a glance at the basement doorway. That's when I see Colleen standing there. I can't see her face, but I know what it looks like. Petrified, because she hears it too. She whispers, Is it real, what you told me? Trying to find my voice through layers of fear, I say, It's not just Miriam. There's another voice coming through, tormenting me. The lights click on, momentarily blinding me. This isn't some elaborate prank? You didn't go down there and turn that radio on, did you, Henry? You wouldn't do that, would you? Terror riddles her face. I groan. Why would I do something like that? How could I have gotten all the way back up here before you came down? The evangelist preacher continues. The disciples were given authority to cast out demons. There are no disciples here. This is, however, a taunt. The voice is telling me what it is. Her hands bury her ears. Make it stop, Henry. Make it stop. I stare at the doorway. I know what I have to do, but I can't bring myself to do it yet. It involves going back downstairs, which now scares me. I don't want to risk causing more damage than I already have. In unison, the audience says, Amen. The broadcast stops. Colleen and I give each other a look, one that says a lot. She hoists me from the couch, clinging to my arm as if it's the last tether in a windstorm. Together, we reach the steps, my cast clunking on the hardwood floor. We descend one step at a time, holding each other for both balance and comfort. Careful, she mutters. I don't know if she means careful because I might trip, or careful that there may be a demonic entity living in our basement. It doesn't much matter because they're both horrible. Miriam's voice comes through the speakers. Don't do it, Henry. That voice isn't Miriam. I know that now. It's something pretending to be her. A voice that wanted to gain my trust, to manipulate me. I can't believe I fell for it, because upon further inspection, it doesn't really sound like her. Too flat, too emotionless. Miriam spoke with passion and vigor, not much different from that creepy preacher. I look at Colleen, who is gripping tightly to my arm. It's not her, I whisper. Pulling the plug from the wall does nothing. Miriam keeps going. You don't want to destroy the radio, Henry. How will you talk to me? Louder it says, How will you talk to me, Henry? How will you talk to me? I pull it off the bench, hoist it over my head, and drop it on the cement floor. The voice warbles a bit, like it's speaking through a tin can, but continues. The voice is deeper, sounding much more like that demonic entity. Won't you miss talking to me? Won't you miss me, Henry? The drawer opens with a tiny squeak. The bottle of vodka feels cold as I pry off the cap. This is no time for a drink, Colleen remarks. I take a swig anyway. If she hadn't said anything, I may have just poured it on the radio. After my sip, the vodka sloshes out of the bottle, covering the wooden housing and all the components that now lie scattered about. Miriam's voice has grown into a panic. She's shouting for me not to do it, as if the vodka has covered her flesh instead of an old radio. Now, the voice sounds nothing like her. I take the grill lighter from my bench and kneel down. My knees pop as I get closer. Then, with a single pull of the trigger, the radio ignites. Within, the voice is melting, as is the radio. The pungent smell of burning plastic fills the air. We stand back, blocking the heat from our faces as it slowly dies with a hideous scream. By the time the fire reduces to ashes, Colleen and I are holding each other.